There's a $6 bottle at Walmart that makes the entire mold industry nervous, not because it doesn't work, because it works too well. Researchers at Curtin University in Australia tested it against every major indoor mold species and ranked it number 1. Not almost as good, not comparable, measurably, provably better. It penetrates porous surfaces where bleach physically cannot reach. It leaves an active residue that blocks recodify for months. It ruptures fungal cell membranes using the exact mechanism found in prescription antifungals, costing 100 times more. Peer-reviewed findings in the International Biodeterioration and Biodegradation journal confirmed its efficacy against Aspergillus and Stachybotrys, what most people call black mold. Meanwhile, a $5 billion mold remediation industry charges homeowners up to $6,000 per job, and a $2.2 billion cleaning product industry keeps selling you bleach. A product whose own water content feeds the mold it claims to kill. They did not forget this existed. That would be an accident. They buried it. That was not an accident. It was a decision. This is the story of clove oil, what it does to fungal cells, and why the cheapest mold killer on the shelf was never supposed to reach you. Welcome back to Survive Better, where we open the vaults. Hit subscribe and the bell if you are not already in. By 1500 BC, on the volcanic slopes of the Maluku Islands, a remote archipelago in what is now eastern Indonesia, the air carried so much moisture that untreated wood began to rot within weeks. Mold was not an inconvenience on those islands. It was a siege. Food spoiled in days. Woven fibers disintegrated. The wooden structures that sheltered families from monsoon rains would be consumed from the inside out if left unprotected, their surfaces creeping with black and green growth that no amount of scrubbing could stop. But the people of those islands had something growing wild in their volcanic soil that no other civilization on Earth had access to. Clove trees, Syzygia merematicum, they grew in dense clusters in the humid lowland forests, and the islanders had learned through generations of trial and careful observation that clove buds, when crushed and pressed into wood, stopped the rot, not slowed it, stopped it. Timber treated with clove preparation remained hard and intact, while untreated wood beside it crumbled into soft, dark decay. They packed dried cloves into grain stores to prevent spoilage, pressed clove resin into the joints of their fishing boats, and burned clove wood inside their homes during the wettest months of the year. The air smelled sharp, medicinal, and the mold did not grow. They did not know the word eugenol. They could not have described membrane permeability or fungal cell biology, but they could see with their own eyes that where clove went, decay could not follow, and they built their survival around that observation for centuries. Over 1,000 years passed before anyone beyond those islands recognized what that compound could do. By 206 BC, cloves had traveled the ancient maritime spice routes from the Maluku archipelago to the courts of the Han dynasty in China, a journey of nearly 3,000 miles across open ocean. The Chinese did not treat cloves as mere seasoning. Han court records document cloves as a tool of preservation. Officials packed them alongside silk and scrolls in storage to prevent mildew. Court physicians noted that cloves held in the mouth eliminated the odor of decay. A property so prized that officials of the imperial court were reportedly required to hold clove buds between their teeth when addressing the emperor. They called them Jiji, Shuloshe, Xiangxiang, chicken tongue spice, and they arrived at the same conclusion the Maluku Islanders had reached a millennium earlier. Wherever this substance was present, rot withdrew. 15 centuries later, on the other side of the world, medieval Europeans discovered the same principle, though they paid dearly for the knowledge. By the 1200s, cloves were among the most expensive commodities in Europe, worth more by weight than gold, and their most valued use was not culinary. It was preservation. European households that could afford cloves studded oranges with whole buds, creating what they called pomanders, and hung them in rooms, food cellars, and wardrobes to prevent mold and the slow decay of organic material. During the plague years of the 14th century, physicians carried pomanders on their persons, believing the sharp aromatic compound in cloves could purify foul air and hold disease at bay. They were wrong about the mechanism, but they were right about the compound. The substance they could smell but could not name was eugenol, and it was killing fungal cells on contact, rupturing their membranes, just as it had done on the timbers of Maluku fishing boats 2,000 years before. 3 civilizations, 3 continents, separated by centuries and oceans, 0 contact between them. Every single one arrived at the same conclusion. Clove stops decay. That is not coincidence. That is chemistry. In the early 2000s, researchers at Curtin University in Perth, Australia, set out to answer a straightforward question: which natural compounds, if any, could match or exceed commercial antifungals against the mold species most commonly found inside homes. They tested multiple essential oils: tea tree, eucalyptus, thyme, lemongrass against strains of Aspergillus, Penicillium, Cladosporium, and the species most people fear most, Stachybotrys cartarum, commonly known as black mold. Clove oil ranked first, above every other oil tested. The reason is a compound called eugenol, a phenylpropanoid that constitutes 80–90% of clove essential oil by volume. Eugenol works by disrupting the phospholipid bilayer of fungal cell membranes. It inserts itself into the lipid structure, punctures the membrane, and causes the contents of the cell to leak out. The fungal cell does not go dormant. It does not adapt. It ruptures. This is the same mechanism, membrane disruption, used by pharmaceutical antifungals like amphotericin B, a drug that can cost over $1,000 per treatment course. Eugenol does it for pennies. But eugenol's advantage extends beyond killing power. Because clove oil is oil-based, it behaves differently from water on porous surfaces. When you spray bleach on a wooden baseboard or a grout line, the sodium hypochlorite bleach's active ingredient oxidizes the visible mold on the surface, whitening it, but the water that carries it absorbs into the porous material and reaches the mycelium, the root network of the mold colony growing underneath. That water feeds the root structure. The surface looks clean. The colony underneath is now better hydrated than before you sprayed. Within 2 to 4 weeks, the mold returns. Eugenol, dissolved in an oil base, penetrates those same pores, but instead of feeding the mycelium, it kills on contact and embeds in the material. That residue remains active for weeks to months, creating a chemical barrier that prevents recodify from below. Findings published in the International Biodeterioration and Biodegradation Journal confirmed eugenol's efficacy against both Aspergillus and Stachybotrys at concentrations achievable with simple household dilutions. Most people walk past this solution every single day without any idea what it can do. The ones who find out tend to make sure the people they care about find out too. So why is clove oil not on the shelf of every hardware store in America? Why is this not printed on the inside of every home inspection report? Why has no mold remediation contractor in this country ever mentioned it to a single customer? Here is what a $5 billion industry looks like. The mold remediation industry in the United States charges between $500 and $6,000 per job. The typical homeowner who discovers mold calls a professional, pays thousands, and watches a crew arrive with commercial-grade chemicals, plastic sheeting, and HEPA filtration equipment. The mold comes back. They call again, they pay again. That is not a failure of the service. That is the business model. And alongside it, a $2.2 billion cleaning product industry sells sprays from companies whose names you already know: Clorox, Lysol, Concrobium, Armor Brands, ServPro, ServiceMaster. These companies sell products and services designed around a single financial principle: the problem must recur. A bleach-based spray that whitens the surface but feeds the root structure underneath is not a design flaw. It is a revenue model. Repeat purchase is the architecture. You cannot patent eugenol. You cannot trademark a compound found in a plant that grows on 3 continents. You cannot build a subscription model around a $6 bottle that solves the problem once. You cannot charge $6,000 for a remediation job when the homeowner already knows that a 1/4 teaspoon of clove oil in a spray bottle does what your entire truck full of equipment could not. The EPA itself has shifted its guidance away from recommending bleach for mold remediation on porous surfaces, a correction that received almost no media coverage. The science is settled. The regulatory body knows. And yet the retail shelves in every hardware store in America are still lined with bleach-based mold sprays at $8 to $15 per bottle, designed to be repurchased every 30 days when the mold returns. In Australia, clove oil is already the standard treatment used by professional mold remediators. It is not experimental there. It is not alternative. It is the default protocol. In America, clove oil sits in the baking aisle or the essential oils section of Walmart for $6, with no label suggesting it has anything to do with mold, no marketing budget behind it, and no industry incentive to change that. The science exists. The compound is available. The silence around it is not oversight. It is architecture, deliberate and sustained. Now here is exactly what to do with clove oil. Go to Walmart, any health food store, or order online. Look for 100% pure clove essential oil, sometimes labeled clove bud oil. A 4-ounce bottle runs $6 to $12 depending on brand. You also need a clean spray bottle. Glass is preferable because essential. Oils can degrade certain plastics over time, but a standard plastic spray bottle works fine for short-term use. Step 1. Add 1/4 teaspoon of clove essential oil, roughly 20 drops, to 1 liter of water in your spray bottle. Shake vigorously. Oil and water separate naturally, so you must shake before every single use. Step 2. Mist the moldy area with a light, even coat. Do not drench it. You are not washing the surface, you are delivering eugenol into the pores. Step 3. Leave it. Minimum 20 minutes for light surface mold. For heavy mold on wood, drywall, or grout, leave it overnight. Step 4. Wipe gently with a damp cloth. Do not scrub aggressively, you want the eugenol residue to remain embedded in the material. Step 5. For ongoing prevention, mist previously affected areas once per month. The residue builds over time into a persistent antifungal barrier. Watch for this. Within minutes of application, you may notice a slight darkening of the visible mold, that is fungal cell membranes rupturing on contact. Within 24 hours, the mold will begin to dry and lift from the surface. That is the process working. If you see no visible change after 48 hours, check 3 things. 1. Is your clove oil 100% pure, or has it been diluted with carrier oils that reduce the eugenol concentration? 2. Is the surface non-porous, like glazed tile or glass, where the oil cannot penetrate and you need to remove surface mold mechanically before applying? 3. Is the affected area larger than 10 square feet? If so, the moisture source may be structural, requiring professional assessment regardless of what treatment you use. For maximum safety, wear gloves during application. Concentrated eugenol can irritate skin on direct contact. Ventilate the room. And if you have cats, apply when they are out of the space and allow the treated area to dry fully before they return. Essential oils in concentration can be harmful to cats. $6, 1 bottle, months of protection. Compare that against $500 to $6,000 for a remediation crew and $15 a month on bleach sprays that feed the very root structure you are trying to kill. Civilizations across 3 continents use this compound for 3,000 years. Modern science confirmed exactly why it works at the molecular level, and then a $5 billion industry buried it. This knowledge did not disappear. Someone made sure it stayed buried. A $6 bottle. A spray bottle from your kitchen. No contractor, no subscription, no repeat purchase. What was taken from you is now back in your hands. What else do you think got buried the same way? Drop it in the comments. If this video opened something for you, subscribe now. We are just getting started and the vaults go deeper than you think. The next vault opens soon. What is inside is even heavier than this.